How's it going, guys? And welcome back to BL3's Forgotten, the series where I take a look at underused and not often talked about pieces of gear to determine whether or not they deserve to be remembered in the modern meta of the game or should be left behind and forgotten. And today we are taking a look at the Devils Foursum. If you'd like to farm the Devils Foursum for yourself, you're going to want to fast travel over to the Ambermire on Eden 6, specifically taking the Rogue's Hollow fast travel station, as this is the fast travel station that we will be resetting from. From there, run forward and jump down into this little cove where the Psycho Billies are, killing them of course to hopefully get yourself a Devil's Foursum. Although it's definitely worth keeping in mind that out of the Billies, only Billy with a Y is able to drop their dedicated loot, which means you can just kill that one and then reset. The Devil's Foursum is a legendary Torgue pistol, able to roll in any of the elements. The Foursum fires 3 gyro jets that arc into different directions, 2 of them going out to either side and the other arcing up. Each gyro jet will explode on contact, however they do also converge at a set distance and will explode on contact with each other. The Devil's Foursum has had 2 buffs, initially gaining a 13% weapon damage boost, before later being followed by another 33.3% weapon damage boost and a 100% increase to its splash radius. So a couple warnings first off, do not use this with splash damage radius boost as you will kill yourself. Often. That radius buff made the explosions from the Foursum fucking insanely big, especially when boosted even further. And while a lesser issue, I would also not recommend using Heavy Rain, as the projectile speed increase makes the sweet spot hit way further out, which can be good in some situations, but I do find that more often than not, it's just more annoying and makes it more difficult to use. But with that out of the way, the Devil's Foursum is probably the single most fun Torgue pistol in the entire fucking game. It is just such a Torgue gun. It's flashy, it's fun, and it explodes fucking big. It is truly just anything you could ever want out of a Torgue weapon. While it's by far not the strongest Torgue pistol, I genuinely do believe it is probably the single most fun, and the one that I just enjoy using the most. And again, while it's not the strongest, it is still pretty damn strong, and there's definitely a lot of options that are weaker than it. It'll work perfectly fine across all content of the game. It doesn't really rely on any sort of special interactions or goofiness. It's just a strong weapon in of itself. Of course, with the converging projectiles, it does take some getting used to with that sweet spot, but once you do get the hang of it, it makes for quite a strong weapon and quite a fucking satisfying one at that. Watching those 3 projectiles just converge straight onto the skull of your fucking enemy, god, there ain't nothing sweeter. And while I don't often talk about the sound of weapons, the sound of the Foursum definitely fucking helps with this gun. I mean, come on, just listen to this thing. It's fucking beautiful. The initial firing sound just followed by that big fucking boom as everything just connects. God, it's good. There is one complaint that I do actually have with the Foursum though, and interestingly enough, it's the way that they went about buffing it. I really do not like this splash radius boost. While technically it is a buff, I think it is actually a contributing factor to the unpopularity of this gun. You kind of just have to get used to the fact that you can't walk forward while you fire this gun. It is literally a death sentence if you were to fire this at an enemy and then walk towards them. And again, as I mentioned, if you're using any sort of splash damage boost, it pretty much makes this gun unusable. It is fun visually, but I really preferred when the Foursum was more about actually hitting that sweet spot, as not only was this just a bit of an annoying buff, it kind of did make the sweet spot less important to hit. And I think they should have gone about buffing it in a completely different way. Of course, I'm biased here. You'll know if you've ever seen my Moonfire video. I wish they leaned further into hitting that sweet spot, and especially hitting it straight onto a crit. Have this be the actual true Torgue counterpart to the Moonfire. The Moonfire is just straight up a hand cannon. It does as it's supposed to. It's high damage, no splash damage, big crit, enemy die. I think the buff for the Devil's Foursum should have been a slight lowering to the fire rate and increasing the damage even further, maybe like 50 to even 75%. Make this the Torgified hand cannon. Make it, again, just the flashy, explosive Torgue version of that kind of high skill, high damage, slow fire rate, fucking head popping gameplay. Make it more important to actually hit those pellets onto something, rather than just making it easier to get the most out of this gun, because I think in doing so, it made it slightly less interesting. I honestly used the Devil's Foursum more often before they increased the splash damage radius on it. In short, the Devil's Foursum is a very fun, very satisfying, satisfying and very good done. I think it just suffers from a little bit of missed potential and kind of an awkward buff, as I don't really think that splash damage radius helped it, and if anything, I think it actually made the fun factor go down a little bit. That being said though, I still fucking love this thing and highly recommend you give it a go. That's not about do it for this one, but before we end off here, I'd like to quickly show my previous video. If you haven't seen it yet, it is a pretty in-depth Vault Hunter concept for a Phase Leech Siren. I'm incredibly happy with how it turned out, and if you're looking for something long to throw on in the background, I think it would be a perfect choice for that. But self-filating aside, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, definitely consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, all that. Down in the description will be a link to my Twitch channel where I'll be live right after this video goes up, and just below that is a link to my Discord server where you can come and join and hang out. But with that all being said, I hope to see you guys in the next one.